Eid Mubarak, you'll hear that a lot today. What does it mean? What does the season, this celebration, what does it connote? And how do we bridge that gap between all of the lofty lessons, the teachings in religion with our national life? Because it looks like there's a divide. There's so much great things happening on the religious side. When it comes to national life, you wonder, how do we bridge the gap? And to do that with us this morning, we have joining us on the program, NASFAT President Worldwide, Alhaji Ayodeji Abdurrauf, is right here with us in our Lagos studio. Eid Mubarak to you.
Yeah, same to you, bro.
I know this is a day we all talk about the feasting, you know, the festivity. It's been 30 days of Ramadan, dusk to dawn fasting. There's the praying as well, setting yourself aside and just essentially focusing on all of the virtues, the teachings of Islam. So maybe you can just walk us through that experience, how you come out of the fasting, what it does to you, before we talk about the feasting. First the lessons, then the feasting.
First, thank you, Eid Mubarak, again to the crew in the house that we're speaking. I did Eid Mubarak to our viewers at home. Ramadan is one of the months of the Islamic months. And that particular month is mandatory for all Muslims. So far you are fit and healthy, you are meant to observe the fasting. And if you observe, it's the only month that tied everybody down. Because as prescribed in the Quran, that at that particular month, the angels of evils are already tied down. So nobody will put you on any temptation. And that's why you see throughout the month is calm. So every Muslim is always aspiring to meet the month. And when the preparation for the month, sometimes, like this year's zone, because of the economic hardship, people first thought it's going to be hard. But God have a way of making things so easy. Like in our society, NASFAT, this in Lagos alone, we fed over 100,000 people. Wow. And same in Abuja, in most of our locations. We have about 360 locations across the globe. And our target, and people who are giving us money, people who are donating. It's not that we're using any resources we have at hand. So it's even a month that a lot of people give a lot of donation without colored. People just give, they know you are using it well. And our society being what we have been very transparent and accountable. There's a pillars of Islam that is called zakat. I'm telling you, if what NASFAT is doing with that pillar of Islam that is called zakat is well organized across Nigeria, we won't have poor people around us. In 4 years, we have distributed over 700 million with that zakat. And it's not member that give us that money.
Zakat meaning?
Zakat is, it take more like the tithes you take out of your salary. You know, it's 2.5% of your kept earning for the year, and you give it out. Every Muslim is supposed to be giving that out. And if people are constantly doing that, we always use that fund during this month too, because a lot of people are paid, you know, like I said, over 4 years of our existence doing that. We call it NASAS. It's an agency, we call it NASFAT, Zakat and Sadaqah agency. And that agency can take a lot of money from people, Muslims that are ready to give their zakat out. So you could imagine if that fund could be grown to billions of naira, the impact would be enormous in this country. So month of Ramadan is a period of anointing like we have in the Christendom. People get cleansed throughout the month because most of the things you do, people that are used to going to beer parlor, taking pepper soup, they stop it. And if you check that period, everything is dead. Because the devils are supposed to take them there is already tied. And it's a period that people gives a lot in terms of charity, in terms of donation. It's a period you even help a lot of your neighbors that cannot afford to eat during that Ramadan. If you are having your home meal, 2 major meals, which is our sahur and our iftar. Our sahur in the mid of the night, and our iftar by the time we are breaking. No Muslim will be doing that in his house and have his neighbor suffering and not being able to, because that implies that you're not the real Muslims, because that's the tenet of that month. And our hope is that as we are rounding up the month, Muslims in general, even non-Muslims, could imbibe some of the values and ethic of that month.
All right, I would like to Rauf, when we talk about the things that Muslims do during the month of Ramadan, I mean, you talked about some having to sacrifice some of the things they used to do before. So now we'll ask, what are the lessons when you come out of this month of Ramadan? What are people expected to do? Are they supposed to behave better? Because most people go back to the same thing they were doing before Ramadan. So some will ask, what is now the essence of that holy month of Ramadan? Can you just enlighten us so people would understand why some people have to go back to their normal lives and what they are actually expected to do, or what is actually supposed to make them better when they come out of the month, from the holy month of Ramadan?
Like I said, human beings were human. And throughout the month of Ramadan, there's a particular day in the last 10 days that we call the day of Laylatul Qadr. That's the day, the night of majesty. That's the night of changing your destiny. A lot of us that fast, Muslims that fast throughout the 30 days, if they are lucky, if we are, we always aspire to have that day, because it's a day you have your destiny change. So if one has been able to perform it diligently for that last 10 days, I don't think it will be easy for you to go back. People that are probably lazy, they think it's just not eating. Just not eating one meal, take 2 meals. That's mindset, because even the meals are not supposed to be heavy meal. Everybody has his own way of taking. Like myself, I take just tea and biscuit, and that's it for myself. And when it comes to iftar, I take a very lighter food. But you give people a lot of things throughout that period. So if you could experience the 30 days, especially the last 10 nights, and it's assumed, and we know that one of the hot day out of that last 10 nights is the day of Laylatul Qadr, and all of us diligently, and that's why some Muslims will go for what we call intikaf, which is seclusion for that last 10 days. We have some Muslims that will just go and sit in a mosque or in their house throughout 10 days, no interaction with the worldly affairs. If you really do it devotedly, and you take it passionately, I don't think you'll finish Ramadan and run back. But like I said, we are human beings. And like I said at the beginning, the devils are already tied. The devils are untied now after Ramadan. So if you are not well equipped throughout the month, you could be tempted. But what we always encourage people is that after Ramadan, don't leave what you have been doing. You may not be that much in it, but if you constantly do it, you wake up in the morning, you take your prayer, your Fajr prayers early in the morning, and then you read your Quran, something will be guiding you towards the right path. You try and read hadith, some of the deeds of the Prophet, how he did something. Those ones are not in the Quran. There's a collection of all his activity, all his deed, and you are reading that. And anytime you're on the road, you must be conscious of not doing what is wrong to somebody, because something will have inspired you early in the morning when you finish prayer. It's when you lose touch of your constant thing, may not be as enormous as it is in the Ramadan. That's when you get derailed. And then you see people not going back to what they are used to. And bet you, these are the people that still struggle again when the Ramadan is coming to quickly get back and cleanse themselves. People that are usual, because Ramadan is not the only fasting period in Islam. We have Mondays and Thursdays, which is not mandatory, and then we have 13, 14, 15s of every Islamic month. These are things that the Prophet did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may peace be with him, and some of us that have imbibed it, there's no way you will go back to that if you constantly, because that one is not 30 days on the long run. And then when you finish Ramadan again, we have 6 days of shower, because the next month is shower. 6 days of fasting. You can pick it anyhow or take it constantly. This is just to continue to sustain you and put you on the right path as a Muslim.
So one of the reasons why we love this conversation is to help us understand ourselves, because we're a nation of multiple religion. At least we have the Christian, the Muslim, and the African religion and all of that. So you help us
bring the knowledge of these similarities so that the level of mutual suspicion between side or amongst us will reduce as much as possible. I want you to speak to that.
You know, NASFAT as a society, people call us sometimes Pentecostal Muslim because of the way the Pentecostals are doing their divine work. But first is a society that started in 1995 by the elite. A lot of us, someone like me, were professionals on the broad streets. A lot of us felt the way the religion, will our children do the same? Because our children didn't pass through the Ilekeu, you know, the Arabic classes that we have, that they have to be beating us and all sorts. Then most of our children, we have taken them to a nursery school. We never go to nursery school, okay? And definitely there will be a cultural conflict in terms of the values of those children. And we felt, let's start a society that will be nothing but impacting. You know, a society that will be the pace setter for a pace setter Islamic organization that will be acceptable worldwide. And today, alhamdulillah, we've been able to get reach to that level and develop an enlightened Muslim, you know, for upliftment, or for spiritual upliftment, and then for the welfare of mankind. That's how we started. That's as far back as 1995. And just few people, maybe 12, 14 people. And now they see what we have today. The value there is we want to make the religion cleared to people. And that's why over time we've been having a lot of interfaith discourse, interfaith seminar, interfaith programs with the older faith. Our religion leaders should be the one to be blamed for the non-cohesiveness of the two religions, especially. Because it's the same thing, it's us in different paths. Because check, from the time of Abraham, it's just like somebody has two lineage. You know, the other one was born by what they regarded as slave, and nobody wanted to, which happened naturally with we human beings too, that no, he's a bastard. And that's why what is causing this division. But what matters most is the content of both. Look at this year now. We have Easter holiday, we have Good Friday, all falling within the Ramadan. And some Catholics are also fasting during this period, while some Pentecostals have started their own at the beginning of the year, do their own fasting. They just tell us that these things are common, just that we are using different pathway. So in NASFAT, that integration is our concerns. And that's why for Muslims that are probably being misconstrued or certain things about Christianity, because we accept the values of Christianity in the sense that we believe in the prophet Isa, which is Jesus. You know, we call it Isa, they call it Jesus. We believe so much in it. There's nothing that Prophet Isa has come to do. Is they not listen to the message, the adulterations of messages that led to all these things, and all boil down on religion leaders. If religion leaders get things right, pick the right book and try to explain to people, I think, like when we were growing up, I wasn't trained in an Islamic school, I was trained in the Catholic school, and I'm always the top in my Bible studies throughout my 5 years of secondary schools. And that imbibed that culture in me. And you know, in this part of Nigeria, the Southwest, if not in the recent times, we are always co-living as Christians and Muslims. We all celebrate same festivity at the same time. As we're having Ramadan, especially the one when we kill Ram, the next one, a lot of Christians will come and hit Ram. So,
and I'm sure they're even booking space already.
Yes. And so I think it's religion leaders.
And that's a very interesting conversation. And I imagine some of them are listening and thinking, well, is it us? They will say, well, it's maybe politicians or people who are trying to use this for their means.
And that's why NASFAT, over 29 years of our system, we remain apolitical. We remain apolitical, and we tell people clearly,
right,
when you want to donate to us, we don't press. You see what we have done, and you join us.
And I think
look at Lagos. Lagos Ibadan Expressway. We are building a mosque there that worth about 2.5 billion. Internally, we have spent 1 billion on our own. We call that one a small society, and the way we are running NASFAT, you want government to see how to run governance, how to give good governance. That's the way NASFAT has been run, because we have 10 agencies now. You know, I mentioned one the other time. We have a university called Fountain University. That one is in Osogbo. That's been there for over 10 years. We produce a lot of graduates, both Christians and Muslims. We're not being, because we are the cheapest private school that have the lowest school fees in Nigeria today. And because of our policy that we know is the education that we can use to push this thing better. We have thousand travels and tours. Yeah, federal government do Hajj and all sorts, but our own private arrangement has even led the Saudi Arabia to understand who we are, and all other agencies.
And the reason I made that point of, sometimes they say it's the politicians. Politicians, no, it's the leaders, community leaders. It's like there's always a blame game going around. And at the end of the day, we never really get to address the issues. I know that NASFAT, for those who are wondering, what does NASFAT mean? It means Nasrullah Society of Nigeria. And your mission is to develop an enlightened Muslim society nurtured by a true understanding of Islam. Now, there's always been
welfare of mankind.
And welfare, right? So there's always been that bone of contention for religions. There's the touchy areas. Don't talk about this. The prophet, for example, some Christians say, and don't call Jesus a prophet. Jesus is not a prophet. Some Muslims say, well,
some Muslims will say that.
No, some Christians. Christians will say, don't call Jesus a prophet. He's not a prophet. So that's a touchy area for them. And Muslims will say, well, we see him as a prophet. And then there's the debate back and forth. It's almost for as long as age itself,
want to have it.
That particular debate. And for the Muslims to say, well, these are prophets. Don't speak about a prophet. And then someone say, well, why don't you let God fight for himself? And that debate keeps going on and on. At that point, we don't focus on ourselves now as human beings. We begin to focus on the differences. If we begin to change this narrative, because we've seen this degenerate into different things in our society, some will say that's one of the shackles holding us down as a country. We are bigger than it. If we begin to change that mentality, change the narrative, what must we do?
See, I like that question and your comment on this. We have online dawah series. You know, we're not just physically doing physical prayer session. We have an online series that we've been running for over 4 years now. And yesterday we held one. It's across the globe. Mostly we target youth for them to understand Islam more. And it's about Islamophobia. You know, it's Islamophobia. Why did we generate that word, Islamophobia? The reason is the perspective and then the wrong perception of what Islam is. Our attitude of people to Islam, to Muslims. This is one of the things you've raised now. And for us to have that done properly, we believe it's education. And that's why over 2 years now, 3 years, we've been able to train over 2,000 young and adult Muslims on knowledge of Islam. Because the problem is that some people are Christian, they don't even know Bible. Some people are Muslim, they don't understand the Quran. The only thing from the beginning, from their date of birth, because their parents are Christians or Muslim, they just believe they are Christian and Muslim. But they don't take time and devote time to study that book. Like I said, I've looked through the Bible and I've looked through the Quran. I just continue pondering why these discrepancies. Because if you're taking your time to go through that, so solution to what you are raising is education. And we have decided, even after this Ramadan, that the online dawah series, we upgrade it more, because we always invite international scholars that people want to hear from, you know. And sometimes we invite pastors. Yes, to come and say what he wants to say about Isa, you know, based on your book, so that everybody could learn from it and now be able to compare.
So education is it.
Education is it. What a lot of us are Christians, a lot of us are Muslim, but do we really understand the religion? Or we are basing it on our parents and what they tell us. What our parents sometimes tell us are not true.
Which brings me to my next question. You talked about education. When you travel out of this country to places where religion is not an issue at all, people live like they're all one. Do you understand? What is NASFAT doing? I know you have said that you want to educate some people about knowing Islam. Maybe that will help them to know we're all one. But what are the other measures NAFDAC is taking, like sensitizing people to know that we are one? When you go outside the country and you see places where these things happen, do you have examples that you give them to know? For example, I mean, maybe I should take Dubai, for example. I mean, everyone is welcoming. There are churches everywhere. We accept, they accept everyone.
Every faith.
So what is NASFAT doing in that regard to ensure that we can practice this in this country?
Earlier, you know, I said we have some agencies where our fountain universities, if you are, it's optional. If you are one of our students, it's mandatory for you to learn about the religion. But we'll make it optional for some Christians if they don't want to. Just for you to understand.
That is another religion different from Islam. Okay.
Yes, it's mandatory. Then, 2, we have NASFAT Missionary Institute. You know, sometimes, like I said, the religion leaders are the cause of the issue. We are trying to put our imams, our fasts, in the right contents. That when you are standing for NASFAT, this is our rules. Don't say what is not in the Quran. Don't say what is not in the Hadith. Don't put your own personal thinking or perception about idea and throw it to people. So every NASFAT member, we challenge even imams. We challenge our fasts because our aim is to produce scholarly Muslims. Not just Muslim by name. Muslim that will be able to tell our fathers this is it. And like you said, our location, like I said, we have about 8 locations in the United Kingdom alone. If we are not doing it right, we will not be receptive there. In the United States, we have close to about 10 locations. If you're not doing it right, we will not be. I've come across, there was a time I was traveling to one of our branch in Texas, and I passed through JFK, and the immigration held me on, and I thought, because I've never experienced that kind of thing, but they said they deliberately held me on because they want to find out how we are doing our Islam that is quite different from others.
Right.
So that they'll be able to do investigation and check where we are located and the way we are doing it.
So doesn't that get you some, we're totally out of time, maybe 30 seconds, doesn't that get you flax amongst yourselves in the faith? Because why we have this conversation is because when it comes to electoral cycle, our fault lines just jump out of the way, literally jumped in our faces, and we find it very challenging. So when you confront your fellow Muslims who you feel are not doing the right thing, how much flax do you get, and how do you address it?
You see, in NASFAT, people come in that don't even have any ideas, whatever be their own conception of Islam, we allow them to through. But over time, by the time we're doing the education and the learning, on their own they change. We don't force people. When a sister comes to our salatu and is not using a hijab, you know, some people will compel, you must use it. If she doesn't understand the reason why she must use it, why must you compel it? That's why I said, understand the religion first before you can imbibe the values. So in handling most of other faith, the people that are on the extremes, because NASFAT is scared of being an extreme person. You want to take it as it is in the Quran, as in the Hadith, and that's what follow. But there's no way you won't confront people that will tell you, this is innovation, you are doing something quite different, somebody doesn't do it, just like the issue of Hajj. So if Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu has been going to Hajj using his horse and jump on it to Mecca for so many days, now that we have the plane, you tell me I shouldn't use the plane to go to Mecca when the life is so easy for me?
There's a valid point right there, and that speaks to education, understanding the times. We wish we could go on and on with this conversation, but it's been very enlightening, particularly when you talk about education. It's one of the keys to unlocking our potentials as a people. We've been speaking with Alhaji Ayodeji Abdurrauf, who's NASFAT president worldwide. By the way, NASFAT is Nasrullah Al-Fati Society of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Once again, Eid Mubarak.
Same to
I know people are booking spots, so maybe we'll book our spots.
Just book your spot.
Because that's why what we are one. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We'll take a moment now on the show, and when we return, we have more for you. Yes, it's Eid al-Fitr, so it's a special package. Don't go out anywhere. Stay with us.